Hi there, hello and welcome. I'm so excited to be here with you today. There has been so much shifting and changing that I wanted to bring to this conversation today. I want to dive into the topic, what is alignment? Because in my journey of personal and spiritual development, it was one of those words that I wasn't ever really familiar with in the way that it's used, even as early as 2 years ago, and how it's become everything. It's become everything in who I am and what I want and why I want it moving forward in my life once I understood how I defined alignment. And so I'm feeling into today with this beautiful nine energy and this ace of spades, really in essence, calling us so much higher into what we feel in our soul is that song to sing. And letting everything else fall away and letting go of how we thought we had to hold on to things, or to the indecision of really stepping forward and owning our truth and bringing our highest essence into the world, into bringing this message, this higher calling out into focus, right? And I just got off of a podcast with a mentor of mine, and I realized in that moment how important it is to know our numbers, our numerology, our guidance into our pathway that's designed uniquely for us, because we meet people and connect with people and conversate with people and learn things from each other, whether that's through a trigger or a synchronicity. And we're having this beautiful birthing conversation about numerology. And we both realized in this moment that, as curious and fascinating and excited that she is to hear it and dive in more, that bringing this conversation into her community, into her platform, was so needed for the things that unfolded in it. And for me, especially, to show up and own it. And so I feel like today has this show the F up and own who you are and how you express through that unique expression essence, and letting go of the decision that you're going to do it and step into I am it. And so that is what I want to open us up with, because everything else is what keeps us from flow of being in that divine essence, in that beautiful alignment. The alignment of knowing who we are, knowing what we want, and knowing why we want it. And I think beyond the question of who we are, because I think some of us, as we go through life, we have an understanding of who we think that we are, or that what we do is what we are, or the roles we play is what we are, that we don't truly understand who we are birthed to be in this lifetime, what the purpose and meaning is to us being here to begin with. And that deeper conversation is able to be shown through the numbers, which is why I love sharing them with you guys. But the mastery, the emotional, physical, mental, energetic, spiritual mastery that we have available to us to dive into and learn about ourselves, is the growth and the evolution that keeps us unfolding the remembering. And we combine those two things. We're really able to provide those tools to help us understand more of who we really truly are, and answer that question of what do we want. Do you guys ever have that feeling of what do I want, and then the stirring in the stomach of I don't know. Like, I've been so good at doing everything for everyone else and keeping so busy and being a like multitasking like a mother, that we haven't slowed down to even feel that, because we don't feel like we have the ability or permission to slow down. We have to just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling with everything. And we're so brilliant at figuring it out. We're so amazingly driven and ambitious that there's nothing we can't solve, until there's this disconnect in how you'd rather feel, and this knowing that how you've been going along in life isn't going to be what gets you there. It can feel frightening. It can feel like we want to kind of push it aside and tuck it under the rug, because we don't understand what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. We don't understand what we don't understand. And we haven't been through what's next that's calling us forward. And we also haven't given ourselves permission to slow down long enough to feel into who we are beyond life's shoulds, need tos, and have tos that perpetuate us in that cycle of going. We'd rather just have our cake and eat it too, right? And we tell ourselves we can't. And we tell ourselves we have to sacrifice something to have the other thing. And we tell ourselves that all the impossibilities and limitations to keep us from that true desire of our heart, because that's the responsible thing to do. That's what we know to be true. That's how it's always been. That's how I was taught generations ago. That worked for my parents. So if I just work harder, everything will align magically. And for a while it works. Yeah, we do tell ourselves a lot of BS. We're getting to that. Oh, you know, and it works great in our 20s, works great in our teens. Like we learn these things subconsciously. We get really good at perfecting the achievement until the disappointment sets in, until we live life long enough to realize we're starting to not get the results we're hoping for. So then we lie to ourselves. We create this meaning to it in our mind. Our mind's a beautiful meaning maker machine. And it says, you just didn't work hard enough. You didn't look the right way. You know, if you just do this, then this will be yours. Like poof, in a magic bottle, right? And we subconsciously pick up this belief, this patterning, and it drives us like this underbelly driver, this force that we begin to project our life with. And so it's not until years later when we start feeling like this isn't working, something's got to give, I can't keep up with this pace. And we find ourselves feeling into the franticness and the chaos. And we're thinking it's everyone else around us, or our job, or our this, or our relationship, or the pressure of having kids, and all the responsibility. We start feeding in to this story because we don't know differently. And so this conversation isn't about shaming or blaming, but it's more so at looking at the places where we shame and blame ourselves for the not enoughness we're feeling. Looking beyond ourselves for the pleasing, and if I just be more of what you need me to be, then you'll love me. Then I'll have the money. Then I'll be able to do the thing I really want to do. I remember an essence of this, and I'll put this into a personal story. I dreamed of being a dancer. I actually dreamed of being an ice skater, an Olympian. But at a young age, my mom got sick, and I was told that's not going to happen. And so I believed it. And I didn't have a car, so I couldn't take myself to the rink in Sacramento, which was an hour away. And so, yeah, okay, I'll change my dream. So I changed my dream, and I thought, what's the next best thing I can do? And I loved dancing. I was dancing since I was 3. So I'm like, I'm going to be the best dancer I can be, and I am going to create a career out of dancing. And so I set forth. And I found out later in high school when I had to quickly decide what I was going to be for the rest of my life. And I was like, I don't know, what? And I knew I wasn't feeling happy at home, that my mom was sick, and that I was ready to leave. I thought, I can be a dancer. There are colleges where I can get a teaching degree in dance. And I was like, that's what's happening. And I looked at the colleges, and I wanted to be close enough to home, but far enough away to not come home. So I'm like, I was in Northern California at the time. I'm like, LA. I'm going to be a dancer in LA because New York is too scary. I don't want to go there yet. Maybe in the future, but LA I can do. Sun, beach, sounds good. What are the schools? UCLA, that seems, you're just kind of feeling into it. That seems scary. What's this place? Oh, UC Irvine. UC Irvine has a dance degree. Oh, exciting. Okay, I'm going to go there. And I had 2 choices, Santa Barbara and Irvine, because they both sounded like really cool places that were by the beach. And I wanted to be by the beach. So I made the decision in my mind to write my essays and send them to those 2 colleges. So here I am, and it's been a while, guys. It's been 30 years, and we're going through that potential again with my younger daughter. She's about to be senior year next year, and I'm like, I don't know how to guide you on this. because all I knew is I was going to one of them. So I wrote my essay and I poured my heart out in my essay and I told them in the dance department, I filled in the requirements and I got the grades and I did the things and I sent it off and I was just waiting to hear. And I got accepted into UC Irvine right off the bat. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited. Okay, that's where I want to go. That was the one I really wanted anyway. And then the letter came in later that I didn't get accepted to Santa Barbara, but I was so excited to go to Irvine. That was the trajectory. So what I want to explain to you is in this decision, I knew I wanted to get out of my house and I knew there was something more for me and I knew I could figure out a way and I knew that I just followed A, B, and C and then you submit your application, then you hear from them and you go to a school. And I love the negativity in that because I never had the doubt that it wasn't going to happen. I look back now and I think, how did that actually happen? Kids nowadays are sending applications to thousands, tens, dozens of schools. See how the stories want to come out? Dozens of schools to not hear the result that they're wanting to hear. And I never thought twice about it. And so I'm sitting in admissions and there's 500 people in the room. No, I think there was 300 people in the room. And they're telling us, welcome to the dance department at UC Irvine. You're among the select few. We want you to know that we received 2,000 applications this year, and we have narrowed it down to 300. And the thing that got you in wasn't your grades, and it wasn't the achievements you've done in life. It was the essay that you wrote. It was what you expressed, and those that were the most heartfelt and told us their feeling and how they experienced themselves while being in this dance school were the ones that we considered. So we took all the other applications and tossed them aside. And in that moment, I was sitting there going, wait, I could have got rejected? Which is so cool, right? Like it's a very two of diamonds things. Very hyper-focused on self. And yet all the blessings came from that. Because then being in that program, I started to really desire to be successful as a dancer. But what I hadn't realized that was keeping me from my dream was the trauma and the stories that I had told myself along the way, the doubt that I had, the fact that I wanted to be just like these other dancers, that I didn't really know who I was. And I'm thinking now, as the story's coming up, this is the precedence for where it started to roll into my adult life. It wasn't working out. Every audition I would go to, at school I would get accepted into the plays and the programs, but as I went out to LA and I went to Debbie Reynolds' studio and I kept auditioning for all the shows, there was something, they're like, we want to keep you. And then there was something we're like, but we can't. And so I'd get this close and then fall away. Get this close and then fall away. So my mind started creating, man, your dancing's great. And I had my doubts, right, watching everybody else, but you don't look like we need you to look. Your nose is different, or you don't look like everybody else. And I started to create these stories around who I was and what I wasn't. And then the stories of what I wasn't began to take hold more and more and more and more. And the stories of what I was lacking began to take hold more and more and more and more. So by the time I graduated, I had all the proof I needed as to why it was going to be hard to have a career as a dancer or be a teacher or be anything else I wanted to be in there. To where by the time I graduated, I had been home for a little bit and in a car accident, and I was now suffering from some injuries that were a surefire way to graduate and not be able to step right into my dancing career. It was as if things manifested from these beliefs as I look back now, right? At the time, they just felt like, why is this always happening to me? To me. Which I think is really important in this story. And so as I got home, I begrudgingly went to work at my dad's restaurant, and I decided, well, I'm not going to waitress because I'd done that my whole growing up, bussing tables and waitressing. I wanted to manage the place. So I dove into management, and I made the best of things, and I healed my body. And it was in that moment that I met my husband, who I didn't know was going to be my husband, who I didn't know 30 years later we'd still be together. But the trajectory of my life was already set because I did know that I wanted kids, and I knew the rest of the story from there. Now when I look back with the numerology, I can see exactly when those moments of decision point came. It didn't tell me I was going to be a dancer or not be a dancer. It didn't tell me, what was going to unfold, but it showed me that it was, I want to say destined all along. It was part of a life path. And so that's why I love looking at this, because it allows me to understand me. I learned to become whatever you needed me to be, to shine bright and morph myself to the next audition, to the next perception, to the next illusion, to where I lost myself so much. I had this desire I was shutting off in my heart to become anything more, like to challenge myself that I could be more. And I remember that moment of facing myself and I probably won't be able to dance, because I had decided equally as strongly as I decided to get into that college that because of this limitation, I was now going to have to adjust. I didn't know what I know now. I didn't know that there's so much more possibility and potentiality unfolding. And so as I look back and tell these stories, I'm thinking to myself, wow. And then for 20 years, 30 years, the patterning continued. And as we age, the patterning increases. The way we think, our thought patterns, the psychological patterns, the behavioral patterns. And we don't know what we don't know. So then we feel in misalignment when we decide that there's something more that we want. So along the journey of life, I had two beautiful girls, and I was good at being a mom, and I loved it. And I was good at being support in our businesses. And I was good at numbers. I loved the stories that numbers would unfold for me. They would unfold patterns. They would tell me a story in each department of our business, and I could see when something was off just by seeing the flow of the financial statement. But that didn't satisfy me forever. Right? As the kids got older, there were things that were brewing inside of me that I wanted to do. And I was so busy, caught up in the everyday minutia of feeling like a taxi and watching them succeed and letting them become their fullest expressions of self, that I failed to build my dream muscle. But the old patterns were already there, so I was learning again how to please others and be the best mom you wanted me to be, and be the best business wife partner you ever wanted me to be, and be the best wife ever. And it was exhausting, because I got really good at being ambitious and figuring things out and being a multitasker and knowing that I could, in my mind, outrun anything else that was trying to slow me down, any messages from my body, any kind of signals that were just asking me to go within. Until the time came when life stopped. Back in 2011, 2010, my mom passed away. She'd been sick my whole life. We were actually her conservator, and the roles had reversed. And then my dad got sick, and then the economy collapsed and our business began to falter. Our business had been successful for 25 years. We began to piece it out bit by bit because the banking system collapsed and what we had as a line of credit was no longer honored. So it was all this chaos and the storm coming together. And today's energy is like that. You might feel like you're in the midst of that storm, this unfolding. But what I do know from then, and I always had a sense of, was that it was unfolding for a reason. It was unfolding for a reason to move me higher. Like I just knew at a moment then we were in the car and we were about to go in the office and everything was just coming into the funnel of, this isn't going to succeed, we have to let it go. That by letting it go, freed ourselves. And my husband and I sat in the car, and this literal moment of the loss, the surrender to the loss, the surrender of, we don't want to keep going this way. And the experience of how everything unfolded in ways we couldn't explain, but we felt held, like we were on the right path, and we just had to play the rest of it out. To move into this new pathway of where I was meant to be, to find my inner alignment, to find my divine essence through trial and error. from a decision and a desire that I wanted more, that I could become anything I wanted to be in this moment, of realizing I didn't have to hold on to being the accounting person or doing life the way we've always done it. This opportunity bursted through in this unexpected chain of events to allow me to understand that I could now choose flow. I could choose anything in a world full of possibility and potential. And I went to write down, all right, here we go. What am I going to choose from? And nothing came out. Nothing. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't feel safe to want things. It felt like life had been taken away. Like because I desired and dared to think we could be successful, life got pulled away. Lost the money, lost the house, lost all the success. And I believe now it was that moment of awakening to understand that success wasn't outside of me. That true alignment is that inner compass. That following those breadcrumbs for no other reason than it's a pull. And I look back now and I think, oh my God, this whole journey has always been an invitation to know who I was, beyond the expectations of the shoulds, the need tos, and the have tos of my parents, others, the dance department. And being in my full expression, knowing that I was enough all along. I didn't have to be like anybody else or show up like anybody else. That if I heard my soul song different than others, to let it rip, to let it just be played the way it shows up. And today for me is the complete example of this energy at play, of just letting it all ripple out into the world. In this moment of not judging, but knowing that I'm okay to do so. So when we talk about the word alignment, where it becomes in our inner ear, I believe it's for us. It's calling to us. What is that? In curiosity for me, what is alignment? When am I in alignment? When am I out of alignment? What the hell does that even mean? And it's in the discovery that we find that. We find the connections to seeing ourselves and being seen so clearly that we begin to remember who we are. That there's this pathway or this mentor or this program that opens our whole cells of our being into vibration of, oh yeah, I've always felt this. Or, oh my God, I've always wondered. And so we get this confirmation of who we are. We get this expression birthing through with permission to be like, oh, this is why I've always loved this thing, or I'm drawn over here, or this never resonated. It's who I am. And then what do I want? Can I work on those feelings within me? That gap that feels so far away when my brain says, that's not what we do. Remember, we follow what everyone else wanted. We don't remember to dream, so we just follow someone else's until we can decide. The what I want has been something I've been really struggling to identify over the years of this transformation. There's this moment where you're awakened to the change and shown out the resource or a person if something's next for you. And if you're brave enough to follow the courage that's guiding within you to say yes, you find yourself in this experience that takes you where you haven't been before. And I believe it's in that experience that we start learning more of who we are and what we like. Do you guys ever see the movie, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget now. Julia Roberts. She gets married many, many times and leaves the husband at the altar. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of this movie? Regardless, there's this moment in the movie where Richard Gere says, he's observing her, and how do you like your eggs? And she likes her eggs however her fiance likes his eggs. And she's so used to just being open to that and adopting it as her thing that she doesn't even know how she likes her eggs. She's just going with the flow and, oh, that sounds good. And I remember feeling like that in my life. Runaway Bride, oh my God, Heather, I'm like, somebody knows this, thank you, right? And I remember seeing that movie and crying because I'm like, I don't know, I like my eggs. I've been so good with just riding the wave. Oh my God, I got to be free from what I wanted to be free from, and I got to go on these adventures and build businesses and do the things, and I'm like, okay, whatever we're doing next. And there's nothing wrong with it. But it was this opportunity to consider what I wanted along the way too. And so now I get to pull all that together and be like, all right, well, I want to feel excited every day, and I want to feel blissful, and I want to feel like I can wake up in the morning and just have so much passion in the work I'm doing that it never feels like work. And I remember thinking that. And then I understood that you can actually feel this way and wake up every day feeling into this feeling and beginning to create your life from this place. And then I met the mentor that guided me through all of these experiences of me to come into being able to not only share them with the world, but really know what it's like to be in my alignment. So I can take my alignment and be the reflection for you in what you're wanting as well. And to understand that it was always meant to be that way all along. We're not meant to be in that frazzled nervous system state. We're meant to land into peace. We're meant to calm the nervous system. We're meant to befriend the mind. We're meant to be clear on what we want. I have all these notes to build the trust to leap, to experience the freedom that awaits on the other side. The alignment is setting the intention. That decision that I made long ago, it came true. Just as much as the decision that I wasn't enough to complete it also came true. But the pull to know that there was something more for me, that I could follow that pull, even if I didn't have the words, was what allowed me to express it and bring it into my experience. And I didn't know the power of the mind then. I didn't know that where it focuses on most creates the feeling state in the body that we're either going to like or not like. And the alignment is when we're in alignment with what we want and how it feels. And then the experience is showing us these positive synchronicities and feedback all along. When we're out of alignment is when it doesn't feel good. And we feel at the whim of our decision or confused or in indecision because we're not making the choice. And the body is screaming to us to please just decide. Decide for you. And if that's not the decision, decide again. It's begging to end the chaotic cycle and bring the mind into unity with the heart to move forward. Does that make sense? Heather used to be that way. Yeah, right? My diamond friend. It's what we're so good at. And then the 6 comes in. For you, Heather, 6 of diamonds. For me, my 6 in my ruling number. We can't help but seek the love and the harmony. And we can't help but go through the karma to get there. There'll always be something we're learning the lesson from and knowing that that was a lesson. Like I've always known there was a lesson. I used to think in punishment, but then it shifted and I realized, no, it was for me to get here so I can get to this next place. And now I have the language and the programs and the experiences to help you find that too without going through years and years of suffering. Yes, and yesterday so much was revealed around seeing value outside of myself. I love that. Like I have, and here's the thing, and I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I have all these notes, and I sat this morning, and it was all unfolding. And if you haven't been in this 5-day miracle masterclass with Joy Kingsborough, Joy is my friend and my mentor who led me to the discovery of me in a way that all the pieces unfolded to this moment of realizing this connection, this relationship is more than just, you can make this money if you do this and thing. It was, you can understand who you are and the essence of you, and that you are one, and that you, my friend, are one with the universe, and we're all unique expressions. And you can go take this and birth it into the world the way that you feel it and see it. What I never understood and have really worked through so much was everything that bridged the gap between me believing that was true. That just me showing up as me was enough to activate what needed to activate in my life to create all the wealth and success I ever wanted. The health, the vitality. And you know what's funny? I figured that out by trial and error in the physical, by creating success and knowing that it was never the thing. It was how I felt about it, how I thought about it constantly. So all the dots begin to continue in the alignment of how do I repeat that when it comes to finance and building a legacy for my kids in well-being, building a legacy and just owning who the F they are and showing up that way no matter what. Because you dare show up in your fullest essence, because you dare dream and feel that song sing within you a whole different way than someone else, that you don't have to be the same. In fact, your difference is what makes this world light up. And that's the message for you today in this alignment. I can break down alignment for you in 10 weeks if that's where you want to go next. I can show you your pathway in your unique underlying coding through numerology. But you have to be the one to decide what it is you want, to decide to get out of the ruminating pattern, to decide that there is belief and possibility in the gap from where you are now and where you want to be that allows you to follow the next steps. The intention, the desire, the willingness, the what that you want in your life. Even if it's I want more peace in my mind. I want to feel more peace in my body. I'm tired of missing moments. I want to be present. I want to feel good in my skin and my body's breaking down and I don't want that. And I also want permission to keep going, to keep dreaming, to keep wanting what I want. It's all there for you. But the gap is where we find ourselves, and sometimes we see that gap as a mirror being reflected to us in the world of what we're not wanting, and then we ruminate in all the don't wants, and then we chug the cycle again, don't want, don't want, don't want, and then it comes to fruition. We get more pain, we get more misery, we get more burnout, we get more exhaustion, we get more frustration, we get more overwhelm, we get more overthinking, we get more, you name it, more self-abuse. And that's a hard word. I was my best abuser. I was the one I was afraid of the most. Not pleasing. I thought it was my parents. I thought it was the other. It was me. And the journey has begun to loving that version of me, to loving my mind for those patterns, to having grace, the law of grace, of welcoming in the surrender to I don't have to have it all figured out. And I don't have to stay at the whim of these patterns. And I am not my emotions, and I am not my overthinking. And when all of those components come together, mind, body, spirit, there awaits so much more possibility and potential that we can create in life because we are creators. I love that Heather's hanging out with me in this conversation. She is the fire keeper for the group, the creators. I know I mention it often. If you're not over there and you're feeling that desire to dive deeper into your creation as well, I highly recommend you joining us there as well. So for today, we can get so good at letting go or deciding we're going to let go of that thing, or hearing that today's a 9 energy and that it's letting go, or letting go with the moon cycles. And these are all valid things. But sometimes it's not the letting go as much as it's the decision to own who you are and step up and be it. To feel it until it comes into being. To borrow the belief by owning the decision of becoming that belief and taking the action steps to show up in that way. That's what the energy of today is unfolding. And I thought it's so befitting that earlier over the weekend, I'm like, I want to do masterclass and I want to talk about alignment. And to find out that it's on the 9 energy Ace of Spades contract, day. Couldn't have been any better. Like, you just can't make this up, which is the other thing I love about numerology. And you can't make up that this was the day that I fully showed up talking about numerology on a podcast, not feeling qualified and so excited at the same time, which is that familiar feeling. But my whole body resonated with, hell yes, I'm in. And I didn't know how it needed to look. And I had all the notes laying out just in case. And I never looked at them once. Because the message I got today when sitting in my quiet space was, can you just let go and not worry? Can you trust and connect in and be guided? So throwing all caution to the wind, that's the conversation I wanted today to have with you on alignment. Heather said, I stopped focusing on the letting go and focusing on my dreams and desires, and those that need to be released just fall away. Thank you. Yes. And that's the beauty of this work. We don't have to go back to pain. We can literally feel into what we're wanting to create. We can amplify our quantum expansion energy, and we can literally address and see those places of ourselves that are wanting to be loved with grace, and get ourselves into the resonance of what we want and how we want to feel, so we can move ourselves through that alignment, that intention of what we want with that focus. What's going to keep us in focus? What are the things that keep us vibrating in that focus? The vision of the picture of it, the time in repeating the affirmation of it. I am the abundance. I am the wealth, and the wealth follows me. I am the vitality. And really creating that essence for ourselves to sit in the feeling, that core desired feeling of our belief. My core desired feeling is bliss. And when I align myself with bliss in my work, in my life, in my workout, in my this and my that, I can feel the synchronicities, witness the synchronicities of the dreams coming true and creating more of the believability in what's possible. What is your core desired feeling? Do you consider your feeling? Do you stand in your power or get excited about knowing what that feels like versus giving it away and feeling depleted and exhausted? And when you're feeling depleted and exhausted, can you come back in? Can you come back in, inviting your mind to your heart, into your body, reminding yourself who you are, what you want, and why you want it, and deciding from that place and getting out of the ruminating, right? This has been the top of mind conversation today. Those off track, feeling bad, feeling confused, feeling undecided are opportunities to feel into the body and what feels good, and can we take that action even if it's scary? Can we understand that that is when we're in alignment? And if you need those conversations, those journeys, those communities to help you stay there, are you willing to do that for yourself? Are you willing to be the change that you want? I can show you in 1 hour the exact codes in your DNA that can move you on that pathway. 1 hour. I can show you how to have your cake and eat it too. So let me know if that's a conversation you want to dive into deeper. When I first was learning how to feel into that, when we're not all of these other things and we're coming into our own true alignment, that moment of peace in the body, that if you've done Q with me in this group or come through some of those activations, we get to this spaciousness, right? But being that, what does it feel to be like that, to be with that, to live and create your life with that? What does it feel like to live in the possibility of that in your ideal day? Where's the gap in the belief that that's possible for you? And are you willing to, in that moment, understand that these could just be stories, beliefs, old patterns of should, need tos, and have tos that don't even belong to you, that are ready to rise up and fall away? And what do you do in that moment? Do you receive the resources that are coming in to help you with that? Or do you just let yourself fall back and let your dream die away just a little bit more? Let your body break down a little more when it just really wants to break free. Breaking free is the alignment. Breaking free is knowing there's different pathways for you to find that place of wholeness, of freedom, of fulfillment. That it's never too late, that now is the time. And just to be with what is, that's rising up, and let yourself love it. Because it reminds you that there's always another choice, that you're at free will, that you're never stuck, and that you've had the power in you all along to decide that you'll be in alignment or that you'll come back to it and start bridging the gap and shortening the time that it takes for that to happen. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Love you. Talk to you soon, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye for now.